If you're currently going through IVF and you've been down that rabbit hole of Googling what exercise is safe to do during IVF and what's not, and you're feeling even more confused than ever, because let's be honest, the internet does not give us a straight answer on anything, you are not alone. I want to put it out there first and foremost that no doctor is going to say this is the gold standard of what exercise you should do during IVF, because it's so individualized to each and every one of us. It depends on how fit you were prior to going into IVF. It depends on what sort of work you do. What does your day look like? Are you sitting in an office chair all day, or are you running around all day? Are you doing physical manual labor? It also depends on things like what are your stress levels like and what's your health like overall. So all of these factors will determine the right type of exercise for you, and that's why it's so confusing. So first and foremost, you want to talk to your specific IVF doctor and ask them what do they recommend for you as an individual, because they're going to take into account all of those different factors to make sure their advice is right for you. I watched a really great video the other day from Dr. Laura Shaheen, who is a fertility specialist, and I really liked the advice that she gave around you want to keep active because it's so important for your physical and your mental health, but you don't want to be pushing your body to extreme. I'll leave that video linked below in the description box if you're interested in watching that one. She also recommended practicing yoga as a great option when you're going through IVF, but then went on to say don't do inversions, don't even do downward dog, stay away from those things. And that in itself is really confusing, right? Like, okay, I can do yoga. This feels like a safe thing, but I can't do all yoga. So then how do I go to a yoga class and know that that's safe? Or how do I pick a yoga class on YouTube and know that it's safe? So let's talk today about everything you need to know about practicing yoga safely through the IVF journey. If you are brand new here, welcome. My name is Bettina. I'm a yoga teacher who specializes in fertility, pregnancy, and postpartum. And I've worked with hundreds of women one-to-one, both virtually and in person, and also through my work in my online yoga studio, where women can do my classes all around the world whilst going through IVF so that they can make sure that they're practicing safely at these times. So first and foremost, the number one rule of yoga should be to listen to your own body. So if you are going to a yoga class and you're not being encouraged to listen and adapt and modify based on what your own body is telling you, then I would suggest that's not the right yoga class for you at this time, maybe ever. But if you are listening to your own body and listening to, does this feel like I'm pushing my body or stressing my body? I'm going to back off. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about a yoga practice and going to yoga classes is there are so many different ways to modify. Even if you are in a class of a power flow, a really intense flow, you can always skip the vinyasas. You can come to child's pose and rest when you need. Hell, you could spend the entire class in Shavasana lying on your back if you wanted, and if that is what your body is telling you you need right here in this moment. So why should you pick yoga as an exercise during IVF? I think for this reason, that you can modify your practice. So you can go to a regular class and you can modify it to suit your body on that particular day and how you're feeling. So if you had a really intense day and you're feeling like you need to slow it down a little bit, alternatively, if you've had a really slow day, you've just sat on the couch for most of the day, you're feeling really blah, and maybe you need to build a little bit of your energy, then your yoga practice can build a little bit of heat and build a little bit of sweat, and that's okay. You can do it safely and mindfully and slowly. It is very unlikely that you're going to cause any issues in a yoga practice because it's not considered high intensity. You're not going to be moving super fast in a really fast class like you might do in a HIIT class or another high intensity style class. One of the many reasons I think yoga is so great for women going through an IVF cycle or even just a fertility journey is its ability to help us connect with that nervous system, so notice what our stress system is doing and then to calm it down. When you're going through IVF, you're going to multiple appointments, you're having lots of interventions and scans and doctor's appointments and all of these things that feel out of our control and probably quite foreign to the rest of our lives. So this practice gives us breathing tools that we can take into that waiting room when we're feeling anxious. It gives us movement that we can do after those medical appointments to help bring ourselves back to baseline and back to feeling calm. But then it also gives us practices for those days where we're feeling a bit frumpy and like we can't get the motivation going, to get a little bit of movement and to build a little bit of heat, to feel like ourselves again through the ups and downs of all the hormones that IVF brings. So there are a few different types of yoga that I would recommend you stay away from while you're going through IVF. You definitely want to avoid any hot yoga. So these are yoga classes where they turn up the temperature in the room. It's usually around 35 degrees. During IVF, we really want to avoid raising our temperature to extremes. And so in these hot yoga classes, whilst it feels really great on our body, this would be considered an extreme. So I would skip these types of classes altogether if I were going through IVF. And you can always come back to this style of class if you do enjoy them after you've had your baby when you're in the postpartum period. When we're practicing fertility yoga, there are certain stages of the cycle where we avoid really deep twists and compressing the belly. So usually after ovulation, we would be skipping any of those sorts of deep twists and compression, and we'd be avoiding these throughout pregnancy as well. During IVF, and depending on the type of cycle that you're currently going through, you might be experiencing more bloating than normal because you have those extra hormones that are sort of stirring everything up. So during a stimulation cycle, those twists and belly compressions may also feel uncomfortable at this time. So again, really coming back to that listening to my body. Does this feel good in my body? If you're practicing any of my fertility yoga classes, you'll be guided through which stage of the cycle you're in. Or my IVF specific classes, you can pick knowing that this one is right for me at this stage of the cycle, and you can know that any of the poses that I'm guiding you through are going to be suited for where you're at in your cycle. I think it's most important to remember that when you're trying to conceive, when you're going through IVF, so something that's involving lots of medical treatments, and when you're pregnant, it's not the time to push your body. Your body is already doing something so amazing. It's creating a miracle. It's creating a life from nothing. And we want to direct our energy inwards to that, which does not mean that you can't move your body, because we know moving our body feels really good. It helps to make us happier. It helps to reduce stress. So while now is not the time to go and train for a marathon or start lifting really heavy weights or start learning how to handstand, there is absolutely no reason why you can't continue any exercise that you've already enjoyed prior to this. So if you are someone who lifts heavy weights and you are quite competent and capable of lifting heavy weights and that feels good in your body, just continue lifting weights at roughly the same level that you were lifting at prior to IVF. Don't go and try for a personal best. Don't try and up your weights. Just keep the movement slow and controlled and continue working your body, but don't push it to extremes. The same goes for any other type of sport that you've been doing. If you've been enjoying it, as long as you're not pushing for that personal best and pushing yourself to extreme, then you're going to be okay continuing that exercise through IVF. The same goes for yoga. If you've been practicing yoga for many years, there's absolutely no reason why you can't continue practicing that same yoga, because your body is going to be used to those movements. It's not going to be an extreme stretch going into those positions. However, if you've never practiced yoga before, you want to come into it gently, because this is something new for you and new for your body, and you don't want to introduce IVF, which is new for your body, and intense yoga at the same time. Start with really gentle yoga. It should be yoga that's supporting your body to relax, to gently open, and to really help you to ground in your breath and in your body at this time that can be highly stressful. I think too often we kind of overthink this whole exercise and IVF thing. Like, I think we overthink everything during an IVF cycle because we have so much riding on it. We have all of our hopes and dreams wrapped up in this baby that we're wanting to create. And whilst, yes, someone going through a natural fertility cycle has the same hopes and dreams, when you add money and medical treatments to that hopes and dreams, the level of intensity is turned up so much. So I think it's important to recognize that. Recognize how much mental stress and strain you're under through this process. Not to make excuses for yourself to give up and just go down the stress spiral, but to recognize, I'm going to need to support my body at this time. So doing things like acupuncture, massages, lots of gentle yoga, breath work, meditations, getting to bed early at night and getting extra rest. All of these things are going to support you at this time. Instead of overthinking, should I go for a walk now because will that somehow damage my chances? Think, does a walk feel nourishing and nurturing to me right now? And if the answer is yes, go and do it. If you're exhausted and you've been on your feet walking around all day, don't push yourself to go and do that exercise, because that's likely not going to help you at this time if it doesn't feel like it's going to nourish and nurture your body. So hopefully by now you're convinced that yoga is the exercise for you during this IVF process, and I would love to invite you to practice with me. So I offer classes based on the different stages of the cycle. So you'll find in the description box below, I'll link some classes that you can do if you're going through stimulation, if you're having a frozen transfer, so just during that pre-ovulation phase. I'll link a meditation that you can do in the few days after transfer, and then I'll link some classes that you can practice during the 2-week wait to help manage the anxiety and the stress of that time. If you would like access to all of the practices that I offer around IVF, you can find them in my online yoga circle. That one will be linked below for you as well. I want to offer you all of my love, all of my hope. I know how stressful this can be. Please reach out if you need more support. I also offer one-to-one yoga therapy and counseling sessions for those of you who maybe have gone through this a few times and you're starting to bring with it a little bit of baggage from past cycles, or maybe it just feels too much to deal with. You don't have to go through this alone. Find a local counselor in your area or reach out to me. Get some tools and practices behind you. Gather your friends around you, talk to them, let them know how you're feeling. This is a really stressful experience to go through, and you don't have to go through it alone. If you're ready to jump straight into an IVF practice for me, try this video next.